Gossip, blah blah. 2 weeks ago, the 2026 F1 Sim Racing Championship continued all the action and drama from its new home here at the Formula One Media and Technology Centre. An action-packed 3 races left some drivers feeling on top of the world, while others had their hopes of glory start to slip away. But we are back for our 3rd event of the season, and with the sprint on the line for the Driver and Teams Championships is very much still on, with it all to play for, and we cannot wait to welcome you along here. We have a star-studded lineup. We have, of course, F1 commentator Alex Jakes. We have F1 Kids commentator Kai Piccini, and motorsports journalist. I'm going to go with that for you, Nicola Hume. Welcome back. Back from event 1. Great to have you. Yeah.
Thanks for having me back. Yeah, I'm sorry I missed the last event, but I think Nina did a fantastic job, and it's nice to be back. Different vibes from Birmingham, though. So different.
So different. I mean, you saw some of the highlights for event 2. We are here at Formula One's Media and Technology Centre. Studio looks incredible. The action was brilliant. Looking forward to interviewing the drivers later on.
Yes, I feel like tensions are starting to get quite high now, because we're now in that sort of 3rd quarter, if you will, of the racing of the season. So I feel like it's now going to start to get a little bit more heated, and I'm kind of excited about it.
Okay, Kai Piccini, iPad ready to go. Others are available for this. You're seriously ready for event 3. Are you looking forward to it?
Well, I mean, based off the action that we've seen so far this season, you have to be ready for it. Anything can happen. And if anything, the last event is to go from here at the home of Formula One. I'm really excited to see what happens.
Yeah, joining him in the commentary box, of course, Alex Jakes. Welcome back. The 2 OGs of the commentating and hosting duties. Yeah. A lot to look forward to over the next 2
You've been here since day 1, Tom.
Day 1. I'm not going to go on about it. I don't think I've aged either. We'll see some clips later on.
You haven't. We will see evidence of that. If only I could say the same thing, Thomas.
No, not at all. Alex Jakes, yes. It was just so action-packed those last 3 races. 3 incredible tracks. Which one are you looking forward to the most over the next 2 days?
The fact that we are dealing with Spa is always exciting. It's a track that the drivers go driving for. It's the reason that you want to get into this in the first place, is venues like Spa. So if you triumph there, it means a little bit more. But you've got to say, they're all pretty epic in this event.
Event 2, 3 incredible races. We had Jeddah, Barcia, Silverstone. If you missed any of it, let's just have a cheeky recap right now for you. And obviously we started in Jeddah, and a 17th win for the one and only Jarno Opmeer. Is there any better driver than a 3-time champ? It had a little bit of everything. A DNF for Ismail Fassi. Will that be interesting towards the end of the season? And a P7 for Julian Klaffenbach, his first points in F1 sim racing. It was eventful, wasn't it, Kai?
It really was. There was so much action going on, and Jarno Opmeer once again showing why he's so decorated as a driver, doing a great job. There was an outstanding battle here between the youngster and one of the OG veterans of the F1 sim racing community. Jarno Opmeer using his experience to his advantage. That overtake there was so crucial to find him going on to win the race.
And then we headed over to Barcelona. We were expecting a home victory in his home race, and it got one for Ismail Fassi. But there was drama.
There was a bucket load of drama all the way through. Fassi going for the different strategy left him attacking at the end. He's still, at this stage, we thought, oh, he's not going to be able to do it. And then it all kicked off towards the end. Drama, penalties, all sorts. And he kept his head to take his chance, and look what it meant to him. He was sitting in this very seat, delighted with the home win.
Vamos, he shouted. You said it was an astonishing last lap, and it definitely was. Then we headed to the rain, the wet of Silverstone, pole to victory, and we haven't even highlighted the fact that Otis Lawrence had 3 poles across those 3 races. A Jacob Benham special highlight throughout the wet, but a return to form for Thomas Ronhart, which we'll definitely highlight. But Otis Lawrence, you can see what it means to him and the rest of the Alpine team. It's a real feel-good factor, I would say, for the Alpine guys. But there you have it, driver standings. Currently at the top, Otis Lawrence. He said at the end of that day, when you mentioned he was just sat here, so tired, I'm going to go and rest, and then I'm going to come back swinging. That is the words of Otis Lawrence. And have you been impressed by him? Nicola?
Absolutely. I mean, what I'm enjoying is the bond with the whole of the Alpine team. I don't know if you spotted it, but online they posted a game of Otis and Danny Beresnay playing a game of carrot in the box. It was actually really good, but it goes to show how well they all know each other as to how they played it. It's well worth looking on social media, by the way, if you get a chance.
Definitely check that out.
Good game.
It's a man with a smile on his face, and good reason at the moment, because the team standings, as we can see now, Alpine second, and Oracle Red Bull Sim Racing, you would have seen, Jarno Opmeer is currently second in the driver's standing with Freddie Rasmussen just behind him. It's going to take one heck of an effort, isn't it, Kai, to make sure they don't get the 3rd title in a row.
Yeah, I feel the standings at the moment with Red Bull sitting up at the top, this is exactly what everyone expected going into it. I mean, Tom, me, you and George at that first event at DreamHack in Birmingham spoke to all the drivers, and all of them said, oh, who are the drivers that you need to watch out for? Who are the teams you need to watch out for? And it was these 2 guys right here. It was Jarno Opmeer, it was Freddie Rasmussen, and they said it's going to be so difficult to beat Red Bull as a team.
Yeah. Talking of that event one, sadly you weren't there, AJ. You were missed. I tried calling you a few times so you could be there, but anyway, it's not important. You picked up. You were in Japan.
Japan.
It was a big.
It's fine. I didn't need sleep. Thanks for the prank calls, Tom.
Jarno Opmeer, though, that moment, event 1. If you missed it, just such a moment after Across the Line first getting his first win of the season. The finger wag came out.
The finger wag.
Towards a particular driver. Now, we've spoken about it. Event 2, you weren't here, Nicola, but there was just a feeling that it's heightened. It's between these 2 drivers, and we've had some battles over the years. Opmeer versus Fassi last year, Rasmussen versus Ronhart. There's been some juicy battles. This one is building, and the more we talk about it, the bigger it gets.
I'm enjoying the juice. I'm enjoying the behind-the-scenes juice as much as the on-track juice. Do you know what I mean? I feel like we should have some popcorn with us over the next couple of races, because I feel like it's going to get even juicier. But seeing Jarno do so well, I know that Otis is obviously full of respect for Jarno Opmeer, because, I mean, even when he won that race back from event 1 when he was in P13 and then won it, I mean, Otis literally stood up, applauded him and bowed down to him. So it's nothing but respect. But it could get heated over the next couple of days. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, do you see that happening, Kai? What's your take on this battle between these 2 exceptional drivers?
Well, it very much is a brewing rivalry, and I'm here for all of the drama. That Barcelona race right there was just the pinnacle of everything bubbling over a little bit. There was a few words exchanged between the drivers. It's heat for the moment. It is the adrenaline just flowing over, and that is exactly what you'd expect. These 2 drivers, though, Otis, he sat on the couch right here after that race and said, well, it's racing. There's nothing but respect between the 2 of us. It's all professional on track, but of course emotions are going to run high.
Shouted too much. He even said that himself. So the passion's there. We know that. That's why we love watching him race, Otis. But you spoke about it to him, the mindset, how he shifted after Barcelona and came back with a pole to victory. So he's got the ability. We know that, Otis. Do you think he can go all the way? And it's going to be one big challenge for him to stop Jarno again.
Silverstone was a massive examination of whether he was able to turn the page on the same day. So day 1, they can focus on just one venue. But day 2, you've got to get through a lot. It's quite draining. It's a relentless schedule. If the emotion had carried on, then it would have been very, very easy to have a sloppy race, let it all unravel, have a bad quali, and it's a bad day, but it's a bad 2 events. He came back, put it on pole, won the race. And that's the moment that he solidified that he's a proper championship contender. Not just a driver who can win on his day, not just a driver who's got a fantastic turn of pace, driver who can respond to a setback is one who can be champion.
And a driver that keeps talking about how good the team is at Alpine. By the way, though, we've got 3 different tracks to go racing over today and tomorrow, and this is your schedule. So jot it down. Make sure you don't miss any of the action. We'll soon be going to the Belgium Grand Prix Spa-Francorchamps for qualifying, and then Zandvoort tomorrow with the Circuit of Americas in the USA. Such good tracks. Sad to see Zandvoort go next year in the world of F1. Alex, it's such a brilliant track, though.
It's a quirky track because it is very, very tightly packed in. The actual venue itself feels a little bit like a football venue because there's not a lot of space, so it's very unusual in that regard. It's given us some wonderful races in the Sim Racing Championship.
Okay, you mentioned it earlier. Spa, though, is where we'll be starting today. Iconic track, Kai. Take a look at it. What do we need to focus in on this particular circuit?
I think we need to focus on the overtaking zones. There's so many great opportunities for overtaking with the elevation taken into account. You've got La Source also coming off the back of the Kemmel Straight. Brilliant overtaking zone, heavy braking zones, and giving the drivers great opportunities to send some dive bombs down the inside. And we know these F1 esports drivers love a good dive bomb. Ismail Fassi especially, we've seen it quite a few times over this season. Managed to rein it in a bit in Barcelona and use it to his advantage. But Spa, such a notorious circuit in the world of motorsport, not just Formula One. So very much going to be a spectacle of a race. It's here right behind us.
Yeah, of course. And I just highlighting the karting because of course, Kai, your passion for motorsport came, I've jotted it down here, from the UK National Karting.
Ooh.
Have you been in on that track?
I've paid a visit. I've paid a visit to the circuit. But I had to. You know, when you're in Spa, you have to go visit the karting circuit, especially when I was back in my, I say, professional racing days, in my karting days.
Yeah, okay. Well, look, I'm looking forward to this. Last year, though, if you highlight that, fascinating. We're looking at the driver standings. We're looking at those top runners. Who's going to win the championship? None of them finished on the podium last year. One interesting race it was last year. Alfie Butcher taking the win. Istvan Pukki, the Williams driver, in second. And Thomas Ronhan third. That was kind of a mix-up. We're not expecting that necessarily today, but what a race it was last year.
Yeah, Butcher was able to break clear. There were a lot of DRS train games, and he was able to break clear, be a single carriage out front. That's how he won it. Great performance from him. And yeah, getting that break of a second was massive for him to win last year.
Now, I mentioned earlier about Alpine being second in a team's championship. A driver that's won twice here is Danny Berezny, standout name. And one driver who's never won here at Spa in the world of F1 sim racing is Jarno Opmeer. Can we look into that a little bit? Nicola, can we look into it a little bit?
I don't think we can.
Okay, good.
I think literally anything can happen today. Because you can also, in theory, look at Thomas Ronha. He was on pole last year at this circuit. And we know that over the last couple of races, he's been on pretty good form. So maybe we should also watch him today. I mean, you can literally just look at everyone and go, maybe, to every single driver out there at the moment, because who knows?
Yeah, but that's what I love about F1 sim racing is, as Alex Jakes mentioned, been here since day dot. But it has been, and what I love about this, and I'm sure everyone's sort of getting ready with snacks ready for qualifying because we absolutely love it, it's just the fact that anything can happen. Before we come into these races, the preparation might have been perfect for these drivers coming into event 3, but something can happen. Something can happen in quali. And one particular driver, Jarno Opmeer, qualifying is not necessarily his thing, but delivers in the race.
It really hasn't been. We did see in the last event a little bit of an improvement from the form in qualifying from Jarno Opmeer. He needs to continue on with that improvement. Can't just hit a roadblock, because that's realistically the one thing that's holding him back. I think we can all sit here and say that in the races, Jarno is one of, if not the strongest driver on the grid in terms of racecraft and race pace, but qualifying does really hinder him and it holds him back because of how close this grid is. If you're a few positions back, even if you're outside the top 5, your chances are little to none of getting up to that front end.
Yeah, he is just phenomenal, taking it all in as we see live pictures now. Have you met anyone today, Nicola,
yes,
that we can find out about?
Tom, thanks so much for asking.
Thank you.
It's almost as if you're setting me up to play a pre-recorded clip. So you two are obviously talking about the fact that you were here from day dot. There was somebody else that was also here from day dot, and that is Mr. Brendan Lee. And you know what? Found him earlier, so shall we have a little look?
OK, so I'm joined by Brendan Lee, dare I say it, the OG. How does it feel for you right now, being stood in this new area that we've got here, knowing that you're not driving?
Feels good, to be honest. I'm a bit over the driving stuff, so I'm quite happy to be here.
Really? I wasn't expecting that. I was expecting you to kind of miss it a little bit.
I miss driving. I still like driving, but I'm over competition. Like, I'm really grateful that I got to do it, but also I know the right time to get off the train, so to speak.
I mean, we've had some tough competition that's been going on this season so far, and it seems like there's a bit of a battle going on at the top. Have you been following what's been going on?
Oh, all too much. It's been entertaining, because when driving, you get to see the drama, but not so much. This time I've had my popcorn, I've had my drink, and it's been amazing to watch.
I mean, we had a brilliant performance from Ismail Fassi, and we've got the return of Barry as well. He's going to be back in the seat. So how do you feel about that?
I think it's good. I was teammates back with Barry in 2019, so I'm excited for him. And he's got no pressure on his shoulders, because it's halfway through the season and he's going to be gunning for it.
Yeah, it's just nice to kind of see him back in his rig, back doing what he's got to do. Do you reckon he's just going to come in fighting anyway?
100%. Well, he's a fighter anyway, right? He's always fighting at the top, regardless of where he is in the championship standings. So I think he's going to go for the race wins. He's not got the pressure on his shoulders and he can just send it.
And Ismail Fassi?
Well, he's got a bit of pressure on his shoulders because he's fighting for his Drivers' Championship, but he's done that in previous years as well. So I have high hopes, high expectations for them as well, and I reckon they can be pretty good for some race wins.
I mean, you're going to be joining us in the studio later on for the actual race, and the race that's going to be in Spa, which I think in the past has been a bit of a tricky track for you. Is that right?
Yeah, I only heard 10 minutes ago that my best finish is like 8th or something. So maybe I need to come out of retirement to solve that one track and then go back again.
OK, well, you heard it here first. Maybe coming out of retirement just so we can have a crack at Spa, yeah?
Also the track. Also the track, but also a Spa day would be nice.
Oh, we're talking actual Spa days. OK, well, we're going to head off for a massage now and then we'll speak before the race later.
Perfect, thank you.
Cheers.
Thank you so much, Nicola. And look, there he is, back in 2018, meeting a certain reigning world champion, Lando Norris. And there you have it. I don't think I have aged a little bit.
Remarkable.
But let's not focus on me. Brendan Lee, what an OG. Ferrari ambassador now, coming out of retirement.
We do need to point out
Yeah.
that he did say in that interview that he thought his best position was 8th. That's because we heard it from Kai.
Okay, and
However,
you said you weren't going to throw him under the bus.
Yeah.
However,
yeah.
that was technically wrong because after that we've done some Googling. It turns out it was 5th in 2018.
Oh,
So
my
that means
word.
he's not coming out of retirement.
No.
Kai, don't worry about that. We're a team, as you guys.
We were.
We were.
We were.
Brendan Lee, what a driver. He's talking about Barry Burman, who is back for Event 3, and Ferrari hoped to have him here at Event 1. That didn't happen, and now the possibility of him coming back. His last win, pole to victory, was Qatar last year. What a driver he is. So good to see him back in the seat. John Evans did a brilliant job keeping the seat warm for him. Yeah. And Ismail Fassi, this is an opportunity now for Ferrari to kick on.
It really is. I mean, he's a contender. He is a contender every single time he's behind the wheel. So it's brilliant for the championship that he's back in his rightful position, and he'll be looking for a fast start straight away. Prove that, if things had been different from the start of the year, he could have been a championship contender. And big determination, I reckon, today from Barry.
Well, it's great to see him back. Looking forward to this. Should we have a grid walk? Should we find out who is racing today for the teams? I think we normally start with Mercedes. It would be remiss if we didn't start with Mercedes.
Why not? So Julian Klaffenbach and Thomas Ronhaar. Ronhaar, who was one of the contenders to win here last year at Spa, where we're racing today. And these two, it's a bit of a return to form for Thomas Ronhaar at the last event, and he needed it. Let's be honest, this is a driver that we're used to running at the front of the field and constantly being in the podium fight minimum. Hadn't been the case in the opening event. Put that right with a really, really strong drive last time out, and now we'll be hoping to knit together a couple of results. And we've got Jake Benham and Alfie Butcher. Alfie Butcher 1 year ago, the winner. Talking of success around Spa, Alfie Butcher, very, very impressive in what was a bit of a tactical back and forth. 3 drivers in position to try and win that one. He did so by being able to break clear. The McLaren pair, both hugely talented on their day. Can they work together? Can they qualify together? Maybe give themselves a few options in terms of the strategy. That's if it's dry, of course. We saw in the last event at Silverstone how a wet race means the strategy can sometimes be deleted if you run at the front of the field. Osilderim and Tom Manley, the drivers that we have next at Racing Bulls, and they will be trying to take a step forward. Osilderim's had some serious pace this year. and he'll be trying to take that back to the very front. They have the decision sometimes to swap in drivers throughout the campaign, but it's these two for the event as they build up to this qualifying session. Ismail Fassi and Barry Burrowman back behind the wheel, and that is some team. When you see both of them together, they are both contenders. They're both drivers that you expect to be comfortably making Q3, even though we've seen plenty of shocks through the years. But that is Ferrari at full strength. They've been waiting for that one, and now Barry Burrowman hoping to be fighting at the front once more. On to Williams we go, and Istvan Pukki is next to Nico Longe. Pukki, very, very strong here last year for Mercedes. And Nico Longe, honestly, when it clicks for that guy, he is absolutely superb. So he will be hoping that everything's all right with the setup, everything's all right, and he can push on. Those two, interesting to see. Whether you get the setup right is absolutely crucial at Spa, the balance between the high-speed stuff and the grip you need in the middle sector. Tom, do you have a point?
Yeah, just like I didn't know whether to jump in.
I thought you did. Yeah. I thought you did. You had a very pensive face at that moment.
No, I was like, I'm absolutely not jumping in when Alex Jakes is
no,
top here. Pukki,
I want to hear from you as well.
I understand that. Pukki finishes second here in Spa. He would love a little return to form. But currently, Williams third in the team's championship. Their highest ever was last year, fourth. I reckon this driver lineup can kick on right now.
Yeah, it's about delivering with both cars. We're going to riff on that slightly later in the day, but like the two drivers having a strong day, so important. Should we go to another team and kick on to Haas? We've got Thomas Gau and Joris Krozen, and both of them looking to try and, the Haas benchmark is trying to consistently be in the top 10. That's what they've been looking for. They had a good run at the start of the year, then a little bit of a drop. Alpine is today lining up with Otis Lawrence, our championship leader, and Danny Beresne, who has a marvellous record around Spa, but it's from a while back. Can he do it with the latest build of the game in competition? We know that Red Bull is sensational as a pairing. Having your teammate around you is very, very useful. Halliday is alongside Pedrono for Aston Martin. Aston Martin again, another team going for the three-driver approach, trying to be as high as possible in the Constructors' Championship. And they are going through their final prep. So many hours going in. And the big hitters, the championship leaders, Freddie Rasmussen's not too far away in the Drivers' Championship as well, starts today in P3. Jarno Opmeer, the reigning champion, but no longer the championship leader. Red Bull in the Constructors still out front, still the team to catch.
Thank you so much, Alex Jakes. Top stuff. There is predicted some rain coming at Spa. At Spa, I know. And I was caught up in it last year and did not have the waterproof clothing. However, we are excited for this. It means some fast laps are coming very quickly. So we will leave it as we ride aboard with Otis Lawrence, Alex and Kai.
Thank you very much, Tom Teakin. Greatly appreciate it. On board with our championship leader, Kai, who is looking to continue what has been an excellent year so far.
Yeah, I mean, Alpine have just been so good as a team, haven't they, Alex? They've got an outstanding lineup, Otis Lawrence and Danny Beresne, that great balance between fresh talent and also a veteran in the second seat. Both drivers able to learn from each other in terms of their approach to the sim racing, but one person that is coming off the back of an amazing event too, an outstanding form right there, Ismail Fassi. Let's see what he's able to do over the course of these three races that we have for the event. This is one driver that very much excites me.
So we have the full qualifying format, 11 minutes on the clock ticking down. And it's Lawrence Beresne, Fassi, Burrowman, and everyone basically getting their eye in at this stage. We will lose the three drivers at the end of this one. 18 drivers in the field today. And everyone just getting their eye in, having a sighter, and then the serious stuff coming your way in a few moments' time. We look at the end of the Kemmel Straight. Tom Manley, driver in your picture at the moment. And he finds himself out there on a outlap. He's not the only one. Freddie Rasmussen, his teammate, Ozodarim, finding himself out there. And Nicholas Longe is out there at the moment. Everyone else mired in the pits by design. this 18-minute long session that everyone takes seriously in about the final 5 minutes, Craig.
Yeah, no one really pushing too hard right now. A couple of drivers getting a banker lap on the board, but also some teams and some drivers also feel the need that they don't really need to. Freddie Rasmussen right there taking the wide line through the final chicane as he now powers down to La Source, the first hairpin, the first heavy braking zone. A little bit of a lock up there from the Red Bull driver, but took the wide line through the final part of the chicane to get a better run onto the straight. So I'm expecting this to be a fast lap here from fast Freddie Rasmussen. He's currently third in the championship, 64 points to his name, so a little bit behind his other teammate and also Otis Lawrence. He's had 19 pole positions over his F1 esports career, looking to make it 20 right here. But first off, he needs to focus on getting himself out of Q1.
Q1 last year in the Sim Racing Championship just seemed to be, every single time we put on Q1, it seemed to have a shock name involved for what I like to call the awkward interview that Nicola will be conducting for us later on in the broadcast, because it's just a race deleted. Given the high standards, you need a drying track or a track where it's raining. Last event that we had at Silverstone, static conditions, and it meant strategy gamble at the back and everyone else just wearing through their inters without the need to switch tyre compounds. Through we go with Freddie Rasmussen, who just checking whether he's in vision, and he is in vision for a second, and then back we come. Otis Lawrence is the championship leader. His teammate for this event, Danny Beresne, and Freddie Rasmussen trying to stack up against a 1:42.27, which is the best at the moment. Let's see where this puts our hugely experienced driver as he comes over the line, and he goes into second, and now on the longest lap of the year, separated by 0.02 of a second.
I think the really interesting thing here is that Otis Lawrence has the fastest lap, and we've seen this before. We actually saw it in the last event where Lawrence was able to stick it on pole position without having a single purple sector, and that just shows how fine the margins are, that he's able to have that room for improvement but still put himself up at the fighting end of the order. And you made a really interesting point there, Alex, that if you're starting far down the order, if you're out in Q1, you may as well scrap the race. This isn't like real life Formula One where you can see Max Verstappen fight his way through the grid from 17th, 18th and still finish on the podium. In F1 esports, the margins are much finer because everyone's in equal machinery, because everyone's on an even playing field. You need to be at the top of your game at all times.
Otis Lawrence is ahead of Freddie Rasmussen, Danny Beresne in third position. Then it's Nicholas Longuet who goes to the top, Williams driver who is going into this event in fifth in the standings, last event at Silverstone. Because of that melee that we saw on the opening lap, first time he's missed the points all season long. Here's his teammate, Istvan Pukki. Not a shock to see him behind the wheel, given his form around here 1 year ago. His time with Mercedes was categorized with late charges through the field, but it was a very, very strong drive for him 1 year ago, up against Ron Ha. Someone always rolls the dice if you get a dry spot with an attacking lap, and there's another one. So we've got 100th separating the top four at the moment. Longuet, Butcher, Lawrence and Rasmussen, the top four. In the bottom three, with a long way to go by our standards, with 6 minutes on the clock, our former championship leader and reigning title holder, Jarno Opmeer, finding himself in 16th.
Still at the top of his game is Jarno Opmeer. He's been doing it for quite a while now, but no signs of slowing down at all there from the man that won this championship last time round. And I've just had some news in my ear, Alex, that I think these drivers are going to have to try and enjoy the last 6 minutes of dry weather, because I'm not going to completely spoil it yet, but Q2 may be a different story.
Wow, I like it. Our weatherman and commentary expert, Kai, telling us that it's going to get a little bit traditional in terms of the weather, according to the information that we have coming up. That completely changes things across the board, especially, again, that setup balance that you get in the middle part of the lap. Jake Benham is the driver that we're on board with. He had he will not be disappointed to hear about mixed conditions.
Yeah.
Given his prowess, okay, didn't get the result at Silverstone, but very, very strong in those conditions at the last event.
I mean, I'll tell you what, when there wasn't a lot of racing going on in the race, if we could go to one driver to keep us entertained, it was that man. Jake Benham was a walking highlight reel in that Silverstone race. And whenever he saw a gap on the inside, he was channeling his inner Ayrton Senna and sending that car to the inside line or outside line, whether that be the case. But Jake Benham was really putting on a great display of racecraft and keeping us all entertained at home and in the commentary box as well.
Yeah. Serious times then for those looking over their shoulder, which 3/10 away, Jarno Opmeer, plumb last. Oof. He's got 4 minutes to go. You've got the situation where you are going to get a clean lap due to some of the shenanigans that we got last year. Changed the qualifying settings as a result. You're looking at the Alpine there in the special sim racing livery. In the last event, home victory for Ismail Fassi. One where it looked like the alternative strategy was going to give him the win. Didn't turn out that way. And then our two main rivals for the title with a controversial moment. And that controversial moment opening the door. Still one thing, got to keep your head. He did keep his head and took the win. That brings him into contention, goes into today 4th in the standings. And so he is looking to try and push on. So lap that is very important for the other Red Bull coming up in a few moments' time. Freddie Rasmussen, proven. You were reading out his stats earlier on about what he's done. Nothing to prove in this championship, but he is the lead driver with his teammate needing to find a lap.
Yeah, he really does. And I think Jarno Opmeer is expecting to be a bit higher up. Currently 20th, makes his way out of the pit lane to get onto a lap now with 3 minutes remaining on the clock. But Jarno hasn't been out of Q1 in nearly 6 years now. The last time that he actually departed from Q1 was the Silverstone race in 2020. So it's been, although we say Jarno's weak point is his qualifying result, he hasn't been out of Q1 in 6 years, so we can't really knock him that much that he's been able to consistently make his way through to Q2 and Q3 to have a fighting chance in the races. I think what we want to see as spectators and as analysts as well, we just want to see him that little bit better and right up at the front end.
Well, that's the thing. When you're such a complete driver like he is, everyone's like, okay, where's the weakness? It's just the nature of all analysis of anyone competing at the highest level like we've got here. Still very, very strong. Just the occasional, as you say, just the occasional Q2 exit. Not often a Q1 exit, given the stat that you just read out. But the thing is, when you're against a contender who can put a series of wins together, or even a series of pole positions, as we saw from Motus Lawrence, swept the event, and current fastest driver has checked out of town because he's got a time good enough to go through, along with Alfie Butcher, who has a terrific record around here. It's the eradicating the next session and sometimes falling into an 11th or 12th position that gives a chance. Now, if you get an ultra-competitive season where there's, drivers going through ebbs and flows, Otis Lawrence isn't going through that. No. Sweeping pole positions in the last event means that if you occasionally have a Q2 exit, you're giving yourself so much work to do, even by his lofty standards. So that's why we highlight it. But the guy is class behind the wheel. So is his teammate. His teammate having a far more relaxing time of it as we make our way into the key moment. I've got to tell you, the driver second in the point standings remains in 18th position with a minute on the clock. He's only 0.3 of a second back. Jarno Opmeer needs a clean lap. Otherwise, you're going to have to update your records, Kai, because that would be a nightmare for him. Having lost the advantage, he will be confident, I'm sure, with all the hours that he's done around Spa. But it's never been a classic Opmeer circuit, this one.
No, it really hasn't. And yeah, the update might be inbound. I've actually already typed out the fact ready to submit into my software if that is the case, but I'm sure Jarno will be looking to prove me wrong right here. This is Barry Borremond on his return to F1 Esports in 2026. He'll be looking to try and make his way through into Q2. 12th is the position that he finds himself in right now, so a safety position is 12th, but he'll be looking to improve if possible, just to find those fine margins, get a little bit of slipstream out of the chicane and across the line. Where can Barry Borremond jump to? And it's where we'd expect. P3 for Barry Borremond on his return to Scuderia Ferrari colours. Jarno Opmeer currently up on his lap by 2.5 tenths, and a purple Sector 2 lighting up the boards. I don't think we have to worry about a Q1 departure from Jarno Opmeer.
It's never a position you want to be in this late in the session with the checkered flag waving on the main straight. Second in the points, you can see the battery has been drained. He's going to bang down the gears into the final chicane here once the bus stop. And does he have a time that's good enough to knock out 3 drivers and not be part of it? He goes to 13th. It is the 2/10 improvement that he needed, but he's 13th across the line. And now it's Halliday, Manley and Klaffenbach, who has had points results so far this year, but finds himself in 18th with times still to be placed on the board. Crucial for Opmeer that he found that lap, and he got it as we go across the line with Ozelderim, and he's fastest of anyone so far.
Yeah, Manley now charging to the line to put Jarno Opmeer in trouble. He jumps him. Jarno Opmeer 15th, and now on the border. If any of the drivers below Opmeer improve on their lap, like the likes of Ronhaar, Halliday and Klaffenbach, that could see the departure of the 3-time world champion. We'll be watching to the line. Here is going to be Ruben Pedreño. He crosses the line, no issues. But his teammate, Jan Halliday, can he knock out Opmeer? No, Opmeer's safe for now. Now to the line is the other Haas driver. We're on tender hooks here, Alex.
Where is Thomas Ronhaar? Klaffenbach got close. He got 4 thousandths of a second away. Jake Benham is in 14th. He's not at risk. And we come across the line with Benham. It's not been ideal for him. But Ronhaar and his Mercedes teammate. Here is Ronhaar. This is crucial. Does he get there?
Oh.
He does. A shock of all shocks to start the event. Thomas Ronhaar finds the lap when he needed to. He goes from the drop zone to P4. And the driver, second in the points, finds himself in the bottom 3, I should say. We're used to seeing him at the top. We're not used to him heading out in Q1. That is an almighty shock. Jarno Opmeer is out by 100th of a second, along with Klaffenbach and Halliday. And that is a huge shock with big repercussions for the championship.
A head in the hands moment for everyone at Oracle Red Bull Racing. You know what? I'll put my hands up and I'll blame that one on commentator's curse, because I was just bigging him up on always making it through to Q1 and Q2. But Jarno Opmeer 16th and out. No more appearances from Jarno Opmeer until we have the race later on this evening. But for that man right there, Ulash Oziodrim, it's looking promising. P1 in the orders for Q1 with a 140.035 and a nice little gap to Istvan Pukki in second.
Well, it's a big, big moment, that, in the context of who lifts the championship trophy that sits directly behind us at the end of the season. And Otis Lawrence will know what has happened. He will be told by his team the information. He is safely through. But that is a big, big moment. The format that we have with the 18 drivers means that Q1, we were saying, not used to be a bit of a shock fest. It hasn't been so far this season, and there's a big, big twist then.
Yeah, Jan Halliday right there, just sinking in the moment. 18th and out, bottom of the order, unfortunately, for the Aston Martin driver. So he will have to sit out the rest of qualifying. And for the Mercedes driver right there, in the last event, he picked up his first points around the Saudi Arabia Jeddah circuit, but Julian Klaffenbach will go no further at Spa. It's 17th for the Mercedes driver, and we'll have to see what he's able to do in the race. There is confirmation on the eliminated drivers by 9 thousandths of a second. Blink and you would miss it. Jarno Opmeer is out in 16th. Klaffenbach and Halliday are the other departures from Q1.
Jarno Opmeer was only 0.2 of a second away. His first effort, it was 3 300ths. In the end, it's 2.7, I believe he was back, and that is an improvement on that second run, but an improvement that found himself only to 16th place. And I genuinely can't believe it. That you highlighted how long it's been since he had a Q1 exit, and then suddenly we find ourselves in that situation. He is a multiple champion. He's a benchmark for the drivers that you see there, and he will hope for mixed conditions, changing conditions, not just wet, not just intermediate. He will hope that we've got a race where things change throughout, because if not, it is a mountain to climb for the driver. And when you've got someone like Otis Lawrence, who has had such great qualifying form so far this season, that is a sizable moment, only qualifying at this stage. Let's look at the moment it was confirmed. Who's that wittering on in the background there? Oh, and there you go, big moment to deliver at the end. And that all came about, you know, we treat Q1 as a session that goes on. They don't take it seriously until the end, but if you find yourself in last, a lot of work to do, and couldn't quite find the improvement. Otis Lawrence then is taking part in the next part of qualifying, but his nearest rival in the points battle is not. Nicola is with Jarno Opmeer.
I am with Jarno Opmeer, and honestly, Jarno, the last time I spoke to you was at event 1 at DreamHack up in Birmingham, and you left that event on a high. And honestly, after that quali session, I wasn't expecting that from you.
Yeah, but I mean, of course, it was a little bit easier of a track to overtake than this one. And yeah, it was just unfortunate. Or at least I had not had the ERS figured out. One lap to the other, I lost 1.5 tenths out of the final corner, and I couldn't really figure out why. So yeah, run out of deploy on one lap, and then the other lap was fine again. So yeah, it is what it is.
How does it feel so far in terms of an actual season? Because you're right at the top at the moment. You are battling for that championship up against Otis. So is it moments like this, do you feel defeated, or do you feel really kind of pumped up to come back fighting later on in the race? I'm
not pumped up to be out of Q1, so no, I mean, from P15 on the grid, or P16 we are actually. It's going to be tough, and realistically at most we're going to get 1 or 2 points. So.
Well, I mean, I'll be honest with you, though, Jarno. If anyone can do it, it's you. I've seen you go from right at the back of the grid right to the top. So if anyone can do this, it's you. The race is later on today. You need to go and chill out for a little bit, get your mind in gear, and get sorted for the race, right?
Yeah, of course. I mean, again, every point matters. Also in the constructors, of course. But yeah, of course, we're not going to be able to work a miracle every time.
I'm throwing positive vibes at you here, Jarno. Come on.
Yeah, but I mean, it's a very difficult game to overtake. We'll try and see if we can do something strategically, but it won't be as easy as Bahrain to overtake, because you don't have a lot of hard braking zones, a lot of chicanes, which makes it harder to overtake. So we'll see.
Okay, Jarno, thank you. We come back stronger. That's what you do. Alex and Kai, back to you.
Thank you, Nicola. Thank you, Jarno, for speaking to us when it's not gone to plan. We move on then with reported light rain in the air in Q2. So it's time to get on with it, and get on with it quick. We're just having a look, and we've got inter tyres on the car. Everyone out there very, very early on. And Danny Bresnay is the driver attacking. Looks lively right now going through P1. Livelier than you'd want going through P1.
Yeah, skating the car around the circuit is Beresnay as he's trying to get the most out of that Alpine car. And I think we've got a bit of a reverse here in qualifying. Normally, the drivers would sit in the pits and wait until the very last moments to get out onto the circuit. But with a reported storm coming towards the end of Q2, I think it's the complete opposite. All the drivers are going to want to get out onto the circuit now and get the hot laps in before that heavy rain hits. So it's going to be so crucial to take advantage of the opportunity that it's only light rain. So much pressure for the drivers right now to perform whilst they're at their coldest.
That is the question for the drivers. And so you're not running in the sequence that you would have intended. You're finding the grip all the time. So Danny Bresnay's gone over the line with a 151. So we are very much in wet track territory. Danny Bresnay, Freddie Rasmussen, Otis Lawrence. So we've completely changed the challenge at hand here. So 51.7 for everyone out there. So you're discovering where the grip is. You're weighing up the risk versus the reward. Barry Burman looking to try and improve. Barry Burman finds himself in the mix to progress. Jake Benham looking for that clean lap and trying to get in at the moment. So everyone's having to scramble here. This is totally against the normal run of form that we'd have. Gaps for you on the left-hand side of the screen. 10 minutes to go. everyone trying to go early on. You see the spray appearing for the first time.
Yeah, it could actually very much be the case that the end result of this qualifying could be these first laps that we've seen. And you're looking at the left-hand side and you might think, well, why are the gaps so large? That is because in this wet weather, there are so many different driving styles that the drivers can attack. And you'll see them attacking the corners like you did Danny Beresnay, getting that car completely sideways. And well, although it looks a bit unorthodox, that is the quickest way to drive those cars in this game in the wet weather and to get the most out of them. It isn't the first time that we've seen wet weather in this season so far. Obviously, we had that wet race in Silverstone. We also had that wet qualifying session in Suzuka. So the drivers have had time to adapt to these wet conditions and know how to drive their motor vehicles underneath them. And Danny Beresnay using his experience to get himself up at the top end right now.
So they're ghosting through, so there's no obvious problem with getting yourself track position, but like as you say, Kai, the adjustment now from one to the other. Thomas Gaal's the driver that we're on board with. He set the 4th fastest time. Danny Beresnay, top of the pile. So much success around here, but would have been just trying to get good points on the board for Alpine. But suddenly now you've got the conditions, the experience, the know-how, and the advantage by 500ths of a second. He finds himself ahead of Freddie Rasmussen. Looking down the order, Crozen, Ronhart, Pedreno, Benham and Butcher. Benham and Butcher will be raging if they find themselves in that region in a couple of minutes' time. Just looking for a better feeling across the entire lap, longest lap of the year. Alfie Butcher is back to the pits, and he will hope the rain does not intensify.
Yep, 7 kilometers of pure adrenaline-fueled undulating action right here at the Circuit de Spa-Francorchamps in Belgium. And I think another interesting thing to take into account, Alex, is obviously drivers will have chosen their setups before Q1, and once you go out onto the circuit for Q1, you can no longer change that setup in certain orders because of Parc Fermé ruling. So there'll be a few drivers that will have opted for a more dry setup and some drivers that would have opted for a more wet setup, which will help them maybe in Q3. If we have a dry Q3, you might see those drivers prevail a little bit more, but the drivers that will have opted for a more wet setup in terms of more downforce, you will very much see them prevail in these wet conditions.
Yeah, it's always a case of a trade-off just generally in the dry. You wonder if the teams erred on the side of caution given what was in the air. Just a pause at the moment with everyone back in the pit lane. Everyone hoping for static conditions, and maybe we'll get word on whether the conditions are changing or whether we have effectively another run on the Inters with similar track conditions and a chance for all 15 to sort themselves out and try and improve. Thomas Ronhart in the drop zone as it stands. So is Crozen, so is Pedreno, so is Benham, so is Butcher. And Butcher last year, our superb winner. And really distinguished himself with his drive last year. Back we go to the pits with Ruben Pedreno. And so we had this flurry of action at the start against what we normally see. And Nicolas Longuet out there has been effective in the wet and the dry. So a driver just enjoying the Spa circuit and all it offers. Barry Burriman, so good to see Barry back behind the wheel of a scarlet Ferrari and skating his way through Malmedy Corner now, where it's got gravel on the outside, and then down the hill we go. Spa, such an old track, it's got corners known by multiple names. Are some, and they call this Rivalries, after others, and they call it the Brussels corner. Either way, this one doesn't have a name. So the strangeness of a venue so old that some corners have 3 names and others don't have any. This is definitely called Pouon.
There you go.
And no arguments there. Barry Burriman getting his eye in once again. All the hours of practice they put in and understanding and getting on the curve a little bit, considering these conditions. And he's currently 7th fastest, so that's not a relaxing place to be at this stage of Q2. Is there any chance of improvement out there? That's the big, big question. Brilliant to see how much movement. I mean, the great thing about the drivers being dialed in like they are, Kai, is that it looks immaculate. It looks like it's on rails. Easy now. Pookie having to get out of the way, having to take evasive action and jumping out of the way slightly later than he would have wanted to. And slightly later than Barry would have wanted him to. Back to the pit either way means there's going to be no drama involving that one. Freddie Rasmussen, closest challenger to top spot at the moment. Under the 5-minute warning, Alfie Butcher, Jake Benham, Ruben Pedreno, Thomas Ronhart, Joris Krozen, hoping the track is still capable of improvements out there.
And I'm shaking my head here. I really don't think there is any room for improvement. Visually, we can see the standing water just building up lap after lap, especially in that dead space where none of the cars are on the circuit. There's no cars to be able to disperse the water off that racing line. There's so much more spray visible off the cars. And if we look at our timing screen, there is in big, bold letters the word storm. So that's a bit different to the light rain that we had earlier on. I think the drivers that are outside of the top 10, well, you have nothing to lose. You may as well go back out onto the circuit and try and search for something. But from Freddie Rasmussen's point of view, it is now torrential rain down there.
Yeah, the drivers are always preferring to be on the intermediate tyres in the conditions that we find ourselves in. If you had to switch to the wets, you would find yourself with just the track in no condition to improve anyway. So you've got to tough it out on this Greenwald intermediate tyre. Thomas Gall has already found a great lap. And so everyone was finding the grip immediately. It turned into one-shot qualifying.
Yeah.
That's as simple as that. It's one-shot qualifying. Could you react? And in a championship where so much is down to practice and dedication, suddenly it became, how brave are you prepared to be? Because if you get it wrong, you're out and you find yourself with it all to do realistically. You heard from Jarno Opmeer earlier on how sceptical a driver with his racecraft is about making many moves. And so for Thomas Gall, brilliant lap under real pressure. Also, worth saying, those contenders at the front of the points battle, Freddie Rasmussen, Otis Lawrence, going out there, showing all of their ability on that first, as it turns out, might be only, there you go, there's the delta, way off. Yeah, absolutely way off. And so it turned into one-shot qualifying, Rasmussen and Lawrence delivering, and this gives Freddie Rasmussen a chance to play himself back into Drivers' Championship contention. He needed an event like this to be able to do so. What disappointment for the McLaren pair, though, because they would have been expecting to be contenders in a dry session, didn't have it right, and they've fallen as it stands with that delta being so dramatic, the track at its worst, they've fallen at the second stage.
Yeah, well, Benham's also coming off the back of a non-point scoring finish in Silverstone, so not looking hopeful once again for the McLaren driver. Everyone out onto the circuit now, but we're not going to see a single improvement, I think it's fair to say, Alex. We've just seen there, Thomas Gall was trying to get a feel for the circuit, but 4.5 seconds off his delta. I can't see a single improvement coming in on these laps. And well, with the 2 minutes remaining, we may as well, we've got time for charades, we've got time for karaoke. I think we should have drivers karaoke in these last 2 minutes.
We'll let them know that's the suggestion. Others maybe just, all right, let's put a push lap together and see what's underneath. The data from the Haas driver seemed to suggest that it was going to be very, very difficult to improve. That body language suggests that no one's taking it hugely seriously. Well, one starts and they all start.
It's definitely some strategy. I don't know if that's trying to warm up the tyres or some sort of dance moves there from the Mercedes car.
Not quite karaoke, but we've got the moves on the dance floor.
We've got the salsa dancing. There we go.
Thomas Ronhart having a party. Not the one he wanted, though. And unfortunately, in the drop zone for him. And we're in the final stages of Q2 that was started in the opening stages and decided in the opening stages. It's giving us something to talk about. I'm always grateful for that at this stage of a slightly washed out session that turned into one shot.
Well, it's more of a competition of who can get their car most sideways without actually losing control at this point. Yeah,
drift contest at the end. And I love the fact that anyone goes past him, sees him do it, starts copying. Superb.
Yeah.
I mean, in the mix, Krozen, Ronhart, Pedreno, and Benham and Butcher heading out in the second stage. Going to be, on the evidence that we've seen across the last few races, going to be mixed up. And certainly from our contenders last year, going to be very, very different. Can anyone find anything at the end then? Tom Manley's going to give it a go. And we will see rather quickly if it's working. The amount of traction he had out of The opening hairpin as he goes to the most famous corner in the entire world of motorsport. Not suggesting good things. Danny Beresnay doing the business earlier on, and let's see where Tom Manley stacks up. With the rain having come down, Tom Manley is going to cut the beam and just check it off. And 2.8 seconds, so not as far away. It's pretty tidy. I know it's all a power sector 1. But 2.8 seconds away means that he will breathe a massive sigh of relief that his time was good enough for P9. And who knows what we're going to get next up? It feels like a wide open day. Danny Beresnay, so much success around here, winner a couple of times around here, and with Alpine, who are having their best ever season in the Sim Racing Championship, top of the pile heading into the final part of qualifying. No improvement possible with the conditions. The drivers knew they had to perform on the first laps. Beresnay, Rasmussen, Otis Lawrence, championship leader, Thomas Gale, Nicholas Longate, Ishmael Fassi, Barry Burman, back in the championship and back in Q3. Then Pookie Manley and Zeldarin are your contenders for pole.
Yeah, only one Red Bull driver able to take the fight into Q3. And, well, if the wet conditions weren't enough, Thomas Ronhaar just invalidates his lap for good measure as well. 2.1 seconds down on his delta. And it will be a shame to see the man who we were saying looks to be back on his top form, 12th in the order right now, will no longer see the light of day heading into Q3. And those lights above the Mercedes team in the actual scene that we have in the background with all the drivers in the arena, those lights will be diminished very, very quickly. 1 minute and 20 seconds remaining. 4 drivers to make their way across the line, but no improvements will be coming out across the board, which means that we will say goodbye to Joris Grosjean, Thomas Ronhaar, Ruben Pedreño, and the 2 McLaren drivers, Jake Benham and Alfie Butcher, will take an early leave.
What a great shame for last year's winner, Alfie Butcher, and a contender for victory a year ago in Thomas Ronhaar. That's a bitter pill to swallow, it really is. Grosjean Ronhaar, who was trying to look on the bright side of things with the way that he was dancing the car around the lap, knew there was no chance of improvement. Pedreño for Aston Martin in 13th, and the McLaren pairing. Well, what an opportunity this has now become for Freddie Rasmussen, for Otis Lawrence. They will fight at the front along with some contenders who will assess what they've got and whether they get static conditions. We didn't have static conditions there. It turned into a one-lap shootout. And race-winning drivers falling out at the second part of qualifying. Where would you lay the biggest headline after the 5 names to fall?
I think you can't take your eyes off the 2 McLaren drivers taking a departure. And that man right there, Danny Beresnay, we know is a man that's always going to be at the top of the order and putting in some great performances to help out the Alpine team. Danny Beresnay, obviously the 6'7" Hungarian, 11th in the standings right now. He's went through more brake pedals, well, almost as many brake pedals as seasons that he's had in F1 Esports. I think it was 5 brake pedals he said that he broke last season. If you'll ever get a camera angle of this man or ever seen him when we were back in the Gfinity arena, Danny Beresnay very much jumps on the brake pedal. We see it in your cars. You may say the drivers jumping onto the brake pedal. This man does it quite literally.
Yeah, he does. Braking with the pressure that you'd need in the real thing. Out go the lights for Mercedes, out go the lights for McLaren. Both of their drivers have been eliminated before we have reached the final stage. The same applies to Aston Martin. It's very game show, this, isn't it? Switching the lights out.
Love it. Love the drama.
I'm not sure the drivers do. Here's confirmation of who's been eliminated. Joris Grosjean, Thomas Ronhaar, Ruben Pedreño, and the 2 McLarens you've got to say, really, really difficult conditions to assess where the grip was and to balance it. But the rain intensified. No improvement was possible. The track was 2 seconds a lap slower at the end. And as a result, some heavy hitters, including our winner last year, fallen by the wayside. Thomas Ronhaar after that, really encouraging second place at Silverstone, unable to make Q3. And it looks like we've got a mixed up order as well as mixed up conditions in Belgium. It gives us a really tantalizing prospect. If you just press play, Jarno Opmeer went out in Q1. So Jarno Opmeer, a heavy hitter going out in Q1. There are plenty in the second part of qualifying as well. But when conditions play a part, it's less of a cause for disappointment, I think. So you're always going to get shock names when you get mixed conditions. That's what we have seen. 10 great contenders for pole position, and who knows what we're going to get. Sometimes with Belgium, go back and it might be bone dry. I doubt it, though. Let's hear from a big name knocked out in the second part of qualifying. Thomas Ronhaar is speaking to Nicola.
Yeah, Thomas Ronhaar, that was an interesting final lap there for you. We saw you kind of really warming up your tyres. Talk me through what was going on there.
I mean, basically just trying to get as much temperature as possible. I think I was nearly 15 degrees below what we wanted to be. We went a bit early towards the end, but didn't matter anyway. The track was way too wet to improve. As in the beginning of the session, it was pretty much completely dry. Yeah, still a mistake from pretty much the whole team. We went out 30 seconds delayed due to a miscommunication, let's just say that. I mean, we're going to discuss it afterwards. Yeah, not happy at the moment, of course. It's, yeah, a mistake we should make because would have likely been through into Q3 and we just went out 30 seconds or instantly out on track. And yeah, we decided to stay at the back, and we thought it was good enough to get a better lap in, but yeah, it wasn't it.
I'd love to get your perspective on this, because for me, watching, it does, even like Alex and Kai were saying, it does feel very game showy, because as soon as a team goes out, those lights go down and it's like you're completely blocked out of the game. How does it feel for you as a driver, that moment that those lights go out where you're sitting?
I mean, to be honest, I'm just doing what I'm always doing, just, being as focused as possible. When the lights go out, obviously you're trying to be in the zone, as everybody is. Yeah, it's likely when you start the race, you're obviously trying to be out of the chaos, especially this event that's going to be, certain teams going to try and help each other. Obviously, Barry's back. Good to see him, obviously. Yeah, those kind of teams, Ferrari, Alpine and Red Bull, they're going to try and do everything they can to play it strategically, and hopefully we're going to be the ones trying to pick up as many pieces as possible, especially in today's race. So we're going to try our best. Well,
here's my plan. Obviously, we've spoken about the negative of you being out in Q2. However, we're going to bring it back up to a positive, because you've had a good last couple of races. You seem to be back on form, feeling pretty good. So how are you feeling ahead of the race later on this afternoon?
We're still positive, even though the mistake we made is very costly. We're still optimistic to score a lot of points today. We know what can happen in those races, and yeah, just gonna fully send it.
Fully send it, that's how you do it. Right, thank you very much, Thomas Ronhaar. Back to you, Alex and Kai.
Thank you very much, Nicola. Thomas Ronhaar speaking to us after being eliminated in the second part of qualifying. It's the Sim Racing World Championship, and we are on board with Danny Berezne. Can he return to the front of the field? Okay, should we do the weather as we start, because it's a big impact. So we are going to get runs at the start of Q3, but the team's information they have been told, Kai, is that it will get lighter towards the end of the session, and that means we could be in for a last over-the-line shootout, which I got to say, my favourite type of qualifying session.
Why not leave it up to the last dying embers of the session? You definitely know it's a British broadcast when we keep going on about the weather, even though we're here in Spa-Francorchamps. I will say that the conditions do look better to the end of Q2 as we see that dry line now emerging, which Barry Borman finds himself off right now, maybe trying to cool the tyres a little bit. Doesn't want the tyres to overheat before the lap even commences, preserving some life. And the driver in front of him, well, I'd have to say, if you want to follow one driver on a lap, it may be that man right there, Otis Lawrence, positioning himself just in front of Barry Borman. And I have to say, Alex, it's so impressive to see Barry not take part in the first two events and now jump straight into the hot seat with a lot of pressure riding on his back. We know that Borman is a decorated driver and already finding himself up at the front end in Q3. I just already have to put my hands up and say that's a great job for him.
Yeah, delivered first time out, back in the championship and back as a contender. So at this point, we've got a drying track. You can see the dry line. It also means the racetrack is very, very narrow in terms of error, in terms of braking points. And still, the drivers finding themselves very, very narrow. If you look at that, if you look at that moment, Nicolas Longuet going out there, driver with a proven ability over one lap in the championship, and try and give yourself a foundation to push on, because with the track, with that narrow drying line, there's not much by way of room for error. Over the curb very nicely. Let's send it into Pouon. Longuet's out there attacking. He's not the only one at the moment. Tom Manley's put a time on the board. 7 minutes to go in this final part of a mixed up and unusual qualifying hour that we've got. And the teams are uncertain of what the race will bring, but we do know that it is going to dry out as we go throughout this queue. Oh, hello. Contact with the bollard, trying to take the widest possible line onto his push lap.
Well, that's definitely one way of knowing that you've used all the track to your advantage. As well, if anyone uses the bollard as a braking marker or a marker for anything, Nicolas Longuet has kindly taken that off the circuit. But he now makes his way into the bus stop chicane, hits his marks, braking down the gears, hits the curb and straight into the pit lane. So, yeah, maybe not the lap that Longuet would have been hoping for. Tom Manley, on the other hand, will make his way out the bus stop and down the home straight. He will cross the line to jump up to the top of the order right now. Danny Barisdene says, no, that's my position, if you know anything about Q2, and jumps his way up to the front of the order once again in his Alpine machinery. Special livery on the car and bringing special powers to the drivers as well. Second in the Constructors' Championship, with one of their drivers, Otis Lawrence, leading the championship as well. Fast Freddy across the line will now make his way to second, with Ismail Fassi topping the order.
It's a Ferrari 1-2. Fassi ahead of Boromund, then it's Rasmussen and Otis Lawrence in fourth. Pookie is in fifth, then it's Beresne. El Zelderum is the driver that we're following through, and Ismail Fassi now pushing on. So the track is improving. We are seeing a drying line, but your first run absolutely crucial. Ismail Fassi in eighth gear, pushing on, draining the battery as well. Ferrari 1-2. They've gone very nicely at the moment. Lap separated by 0.02 of a second. I was looking forward to seeing these two paired together. At the moment, they're the top two on the grid. It's a front row lockout, but with the track improving all the time. Look at that compared to where we were in Q2.
Yeah, the rain almost non-existent in comparison to what we saw in the previous session, and the two Ferrari drivers showing why, if Barry Boromund was here from the start of the season, they would have been a team to compete with, as Boromund is back on the order and back on form as well. Freddie Rasmussen in third will be looking for a little bit of an improvement, and it's not much of an improvement that he needs to gain any position. 7 thousandths is currently what separates the top three. Much better than the margins that we saw in the previous qualifying session, where the top 10 were separated by nearly a second between them. But Otis Lawrence in fourth, he won't want a second row start. It'll be a front row that he'll be hoping for, otherwise disappointment for himself.
Great first effort from the Ferraris, but the track drying all the time. So we had one shot qualifying with the track at its best in Q2 at the very start. At the very end of Q3, it looked like we're going to get the same again. Pookie delivering at a track where he was in the top three here last year at the end of the race. Beresne will not be happy to see his advantage fade away, along with the rain at this stage. Nicolas Longuet without a time on the board. Nicolas Longuet, who we saw with the contact with the bollard earlier on. In the context of the championship, we're in for some race.
Yeah, we really are. And with the rain just getting lighter and lighter, drivers are going to leave it as late as possible to make their way onto the circuit. I wouldn't be surprised if we see a repeat of 2019 Monza in the real-life Formula One, where all the drivers were fighting for track position and to make it to the line. Quite a few of them didn't even make it to the line for their final lap. Are the esports drivers going to be a little bit smarter than that, or will we see a repeat of the real-life racing? We'll have to wait and see, but this is what I love about Q3, Alex. You get your first laps out the way, and there is no sitting and waiting around, because it's already time to get your final times on the board.
Otis Lawrence currently in fourth position, knowing that he will have a great opportunity to make it 4 in a row with the track conditions drying out all the while. That is the promise for him as he waits for his last attempt. As Kai has said, it will be a real battle to try and be the last one over the line. And as per the procedure, you have to remain in your seat no matter if you are knocked out. And our reigning champ is going to see what Freddie Rasmussen can do. Danny Berezne trying to take himself back to the top of the pile. Barry Boromond chasing not very much when it comes to the improvement. Be interesting to see whether it is an enormous improvement or whether we've just got similar track conditions. On the evidence of that drying line, I'm fascinated to see whether it's a huge improvement or whether we are just in a second run situation. Okay, we'll get the answer very, very shortly. 2-minute warning, out laps for everyone apart from Pookie, who joins the fray. There he is. He's out there. 10 contenders, a topsy-turvy session. We don't know who it's going to be. There's a big opportunity for Otis Lawrence if you consider that his nearest rival for the title went out in Q1. This is exactly the sort of day where Freddie Rasmussen has proved invaluable for Red Bull, time and time again, making sure that he can occupy the top spot if things don't go to plan. If he does so, he gives himself a chance to bring his name into Drivers' Championship contention as well. Ulselderim has been rapid across the course. They've had their outlaps to understand. Yeah, it's exactly as you predicted, Kai. They've had their outlaps to understand where the grip is. Now they're all going to merge into one car, basically, and try and attack at the end. And here we go, then.
Well, Alex, the RB drivers here are leaving the fate of their qualifying in that dry line on the circuit. Both drivers on the soft compound of tyres. No intermediates on the RB cars, and that is also the same for Istvan Pukki in his Williams machinery. It is soft, slick, compound tyres on the cars. When we were on board there with Ulash Ozildrim, you could still see the reminiscence of the rain coming down on the screen, but now we look from Nico Longe and there is no rain falling down on the circuit, and that surface of the Spa-Francorchamps circuit is looking a lot more dry than what we saw earlier in this session. Dare I say it, almost looking bone dry on the circuit. This just shows a multi-climate circuit is Spa-Francorchamps, and these RB drivers and Istvan Pukki, have they made the right gamble for the soft compounded tyres? Well, over the next give or take 2 minutes, we will find out.
Well, the giving and the taking of the 2 minutes is going to decide our order for the top 10. They might as well be merged together as they go across the line. This is going to be fascinating to see whether the Inter tyre is still the best one or whether the soft shod runners can fire up the tyre temperature. If you can fire up those slick tyres and find a dry part of the racetrack, it should be worth seconds per lap. The gamble is about to take place. We are through Eau Rouge, we are through Radion, we're onto the Kemmel Straight. Everyone will be looking to improve. Take a moment and enjoy the left-hand order, because it's about to change.
Yeah, Alex, my eyes are absolutely glued to when these first sector times will come through on the standings to see if we're able to get any improvement from the soft tyre runners as we actively watch out. DRS enabled, so that shows that the game now feels that it is dry and slick conditions. This is where the Racing Bulls cars and Istvan Pukki as well will come into their elements. The drivers up at the front end, it's Danny Berezne that's going to be leading the charge and the first to hit those sector times. It will be a dash to the line for everyone on the slick compounder tyres, but they also need to be careful to not get impeded by the other drivers on the circuit as a little bit of ghosting is going on, but that RB car is much faster than the sister team of the Red Bull, and Tom Manley
Look
in his
at the
Racing
delta.
Bulls machine.
He's 3.5 seconds up on his previous effort. The track has dried out, but if you fired up the slick tyres correctly, it should be an advantage for those who've gambled on it. The Racing Bulls drivers, and in the mix as well, who's the other one on the slick tyres?
It was Istvan Pukki and obviously Manley's teammate.
So if they can find their way to the top, they should rifle through here. This is massive. It is exactly what we expected, and they've done it. They've done it. The gamblers find their way to the front of the field. It's Ozildrim who finds the best time. It's Pukki in second and Manley in third. And the gambler comes out on top. If you win for slick tyres, make your way to the top 3. That is inspired. Only 3 of them did it. Of those on the Inters, Ismail Fassi is in 4th. He is ahead of Freddie Rasmussen. Then it's Beresnay, Burremond, and Otis Lawrence. When he saw Jarno Opmeer go out in Q1, he would have thought that it was Christmas Day and his birthday rolled into one. Instead, he is in 9th place, Nicolas Longuet in 10th. And it was slick tyres at the last that got pole. What a session, what a twist. And it's El Zeldarim at the front of the field. He's known that feeling before with some controversy, this time brilliance from his team and his output behind the wheel. El Zeldarim, Pookie and Manley, the top 3. And that really was slick.
I'll tell you what, I'll give you that pun. I would normally shame you for the pun, Alex, but
no,
we have to let it slide that time.
I'll have it. That was inspired. Well done to Racing Bulls who did it with both cars.
Yep.
And it's got to be for Pookie an inspired shout to go in that direction. I'm fascinated to hear which way that unfolded. You saw at the end, the moment that you saw the delta and up by 3 seconds, you're like, well, if you're on the slick tyres, it's clearly working to improve. The only question for them was tyre temperature. They answered it. They're the top 3 on the grid. I've got to say, been very, very fortunate to cover this championship for a long time. That is as mixed up a grid. I've got no idea in a dry Spa, realistically, who is quickest out there, and we're going to get a great answer. So, into tyres for Longuet, not the slicks. Oh, it wasn't by much, but at Pouhon Corner, invalidated lap, and it sends him to P10.
Any improvement would have been helpful for the Williams driver. You're seeing the Spa-Francorchamps circuit on your picture. No, we're not racing at Vegas, but a spin of the wheel and a roll of the dice was enough to find Ozildrim, Pookie and Manley filling the top 3 spots. The intermediate drivers may have thought it was the safe choice to go for. Sometimes you need to go for something a little bit different, and that's proved itself right here. And that very much goes down to the team right there. They will have had engineers in their ears that will have been sat on the pit wall just behind them, feeding them the information. And otherwise, Ozildrim, Pookie and Manley may have doubted the information they were being fed for going on the soft tyres, but this is the reason why they did. Ulas Ozildrim finds himself on pole position with Istvan Pookie and Tom Manley being the other slick compound runners, 7 tenths clear of anyone else.
Ismail Fassi won the battle of those on the intermediates ahead of Freddie Rasmussen and Danny Beresnay. Barry Burremond is in 7th, then it's Thomas Gall and our championship leader Otis Lawrence, 4.5 seconds off. Nico Longuet invalidated on his final lap and will be in 10th. And what a completely different set of conditions we had in Q2, where it was Crozen, Ronhard, Pedreno, Benham and Butcher. That was all decided with 1 lap at the start of the session. It was too wet for improvement at the end. And Q1, long time ago now, and it's Jarno Opmeer ahead of Julian Klappenbach, and Jan Halliday completes our field. And who knows, if it's fully wet, I don't know who's fastest. If it's fully dry, I don't know who's fastest, but can credit to those who dealt with it when it mattered. One of which, both Racing Bulls were on the Red Bull slick tyre. Ulas Ozildrim did the job. He's our pole sitter. Let's hear from him now.
Ulas Ozildrim, I mean, that was a gamble that absolutely paid off.
It was a very big gamble, so I had no idea on the outlap if it was going to be better or not. In the sector 1 it was very bad, so I thought the session was over. But in sector 2 it started to get better. So I was very happy when I saw that, and I was closing into everyone. I had to go through body as well, so it was very stressful. But I made it in the end, so I'm very happy with the lap.
This is the tricky thing, because you've got the drivers versus the engineers' point of view, and when it comes down to strategy, what's the best choice? So in your head, were you happy to stay on intermediates, or were you also slightly feeling the slicks, but then just kind of nodded along with it, or what happened there?
To be honest, I was feeling intermediates, but I just trusted my engineer, what he said, and it was right, so I am very happy.
Okay, so you owe your engineer a drink then for getting you on pole position, Ulas. Very nice. How do you feel?
I mean, it's my second pole position in this series, but this one feels a bit different because it was really hard to get. It was really hard to drive on softs in the wet track, but I tried my best and it was enough. So I'm very happy. It's my best track, so I'm very happy with it.
So we've got a little break now before the race later on this evening. What are you doing between then and now? No, now, then. There we go.
I'm just gonna chill out a little bit, maybe eat something and get ready for the race. That's what I'm gonna do.
Okay, go get something to eat. Ulash, congratulations on pole position. Tom, back to you.
Thank you very much, Nicola. What a quali that was around Spa. Thank you very much, Alex Chase Carbacini. I'm sure everybody enjoyed that wherever they are around the world. It really had something for everyone. And Ulash, maybe elite, maybe he won't. That's the peril that I am looking forward to.
It's a pretty long queue in the canteen, let's be honest. So I think he's worrying about that.
But I tell you what, a driver that's definitely growing in stature, confidence throughout this competition. 2 podiums he's already had in China and Saudi Arabia, and he's only raced 4 times. He's doing the business for Racing Bulls, and Tom Manley as well. We know he's had a lot of penalties this year, and that's held him back a little bit. But top stuff from Racing Bulls, making it exciting and interesting to come back later on for the race.
Well called from them. I mean, that was... I have to admit, given where we started the session, I didn't think that was going to work. And then Sector 1, hold on. And then by the end, they delivered. Great call. They've netted themselves a 1-3. And Pookie as well, excellent. But Elzelderim, he has been really, really strong. It's been a breakthrough year. Feels like he's having a breakthrough year in terms of overall pace. When he was in that position before, when he took his original pole position, you were like, good effort. But I'd be surprised if you stayed there.
Yeah.
Not this year.
Absolutely not. Looking back at some of those highlights though, Q1 started, Klaffenbach. If you remind yourself, Jarno Opmeer went out, which was just such a surprise. Trying to figure out the ERS, what happened there. It was a great interview with Nicola. Pumped or deflated going into that? He said absolutely not pumped right now, but every point matters for them, and such a big deal for him going out in Q1, Kai.
Yeah. Big mistakes, and we saw mistakes all the way through qualifying, so maybe drivers starting to feel the pressure a little bit, and especially that man that we saw depart from Q1, Jarno Opmeer. As we mentioned, it's been 6 years since he last left in Q1. Now, as Alex said, I can update my facts to say that Jarno Opmeer departed from Q1 in 2026 here at Spa, and that was the moment right there. And the reaction from Jarno Opmeer, very deflated, very upset, very disappointed, I think it's fair to say. And Otis Lawrence, well, was he celebrating his lap time, or was he celebrating Jarno Opmeer leaving Q1?
Yeah, and then moving into Q2, everyone was talking about that. Every point matters. Can he work a miracle? We'll find out later on in the race, Jarno Opmeer. And the rain came down. It was definitely brolly time. Maybe even a Mac, maybe even waterproof trainers, JC as well. The full shebang.
Yeah, very difficult for the drivers who would not have practiced as much in the wet as the dry conditions. But they had one chance in Q2, and by the time we got to the end of the session, it was demo stuff. Lights went out for McLaren and Mercedes and Aston Martin. Thomas Ronhart and last year's winner Elfie Butcher going out.
He didn't really want to answer that question from Nicola about what does it feel like. It's like a game show, isn't it? As we're seeing one post getting taken away there, Bollard. But yeah, moving into Q3, we were sad to see the likes of Thomas Ronhart out, but it really delivered for entertainment value and enjoyable one to commentate on.
It's the most unpredictable one I've ever commentated on. That was mad. We had different conditions for each section, a shock all the way through. And honestly, if we get static conditions, I know it's difficult to overtake in the game, but this has not gone to form by any means. That's as jumbled up a grid as I've ever seen.
However, back in after a little brief absence in Event 2 and Event 1 is Barry Borman, and not a bad start for P7 getting into Q3. That would be a damn fine start for him. Nicola is with Barry right now, I believe.
Yes, I am. And Barry, I'm not going to take up too much of your time because I know you need to shoot off. But first of all, number one, it's lovely to finally meet you. And it's lovely to have you back. How do you feel?
Yeah, first of all, hello to everyone. Hello to you. I met you in the TV. Now I'm meeting you in real life. But yeah, I mean, first of all, I want to say thank you to like Tiziana and Cam. We went through a really big challenge. Mentally, it was quite tough, but I'm so happy to be here. Like, obviously, the qualifying wasn't the best, but it's just I cannot just stop smiling because I'm just so happy to be here.
Well, it must be really nice as well for your fans that are watching from home, that have been fans of you for such a long time, to see you back here, back in your rig. I know that final quali session there was a bit all over the place because it rained and then it didn't, and that was a gamble. So how was it for you to be back, but then also not quite going according to plan?
I mean, these things happens in F1 esports, have been happening for the past few years that I have been in the sport and F1 esport. And yeah, I mean, we were really on it, I think, in rain pace and dry pace. You know, if you have like the whole session in rain, a whole session in dry, I think we were really on it. We were really quick, even in the rain in Q2. I think we both did a really bad lap, I would say, but we were so happy that we are still through. And I mean, start of Q3 when it was rain, we did a really okay lap. We were P1, P2, and we were quite happy that it's rainy, to be fair, because I think we practiced it rain a lot. But then last run in Q3, obviously, you cannot guess the grip. Obviously, first of all, there's a gamble if you choose soft, because the first part of the lap, the intro going to be quicker, and then in that right moment, the soft just going to fire up. So yeah, it's just really tough. Obviously, we wanted, because we felt we are really quick in any condition, so we wanted to be with most of the tires that everybody is using, and we saw like only, I think, 3 drivers went on soft, so we were like, on Inter, if you can just beat all of them, we still, at the worst scenario, going to start P4, P5. But yeah, I mean, nonetheless, I think these things happens, and we see what we can do in the race.
And you said the whole thing with a smile on your face because you're back. And it's so lovely for me and the viewers at home to finally see you back in action in a race. So how are you feeling ahead of the race?
I mean, I won here 2 times. I'm going to try my best to see what's going to happen.
Very nice. I'm excited to see you in action. Go and get something to eat and I'll speak to you later. Thank you, Barry. Back to you in the studio.
Thank you very much, Nicola. And if you're looking for someone who knows how to do a solid handshake, it's Nicola. That was strong work there with Barry. Great to have Barry back. And yes, you mentioned there, 2-time winner around Spa, 23-24 season, pole to victory for him in that season where he was 3rd in the Drivers' Championship. Anything could happen from P7. When you look at that stacked lineup of drivers, is it possible? I mean, are we going to see something, teamwork going on from Manley and Ulash to hopefully help their chances in the team's championship?
Yeah, start is absolutely crucial for that poor old Barry Burman. He's back in the championship, but he's back of the queue for the food in the canteen. So that's the end of that. But thank you for talking to us. I appreciate that. Dedication to the cause. You could see him running out of shot going, no, I'm at the back now.
Come on, the man needs fuel. Yeah. Interesting enough, though, last year he finished in 9th. He's starting in P9, but so close. I think we've got footage of it. So close to putting it in pole, which had been 4 in a row for the guy that we're talking about so much at the moment, quite rightly, Otis Lawrence.
Yeah, it was a great display from Otis Lawrence all the way through qualifying. Even on those intermediate tyres, was able to gain so much time, and that invalidation would have been heart-wrenching for Otis. He knows as soon as he committed to that corner, once you turn in, there's no backing out, and he'll know straight away that he turned in too early. So he was just a passenger at that point, praying that the game didn't give him an invalidation. Unfortunately, that is the circumstance. 4 wheels over the white line, and that's you done.
I've immediately gone to arms folded, which is my kind of like, I feel uncomfortable for Otis because I know how much that will be sort of playing on his mind. But he has to put it out of his mind now because coming back in less than an hour, we're going to go racing, and he knows what he's capable, especially with Jarno right behind. We're thinking of the Drivers' Championship now. It's about accruing as many points as he possibly can.
Yeah, he's still got his nearest rival for the title a mile back. It's been a big opportunity for Freddie Rasmussen, who's been quick in all conditions so far, as well. But I think we're going to get some race later on because realistically, we had 3 very, very distinct parts of qualifying there.
Yeah, Kai Bicini, Alex Jakes to Nicola Hume down with the drivers, probably in the canteen right now, queuing up for us. I hope she's got my order. It's been an absolute pleasure to have you with us for quali around Spa, but we'll be back in less than an hour's time to go racing around Spa. You do not want to miss it. Ulas Orzildrum has got pole position. We'll see you then.